Hello everyone, we are here. It's another time for our Redbird Roundup show. I'm Joe Deacon with ISU beat writer Jim Benson. Hello Jim, how you doing?
Good, Joe, how are you?
Good, good. Well, it's quite a good week for the Redbirds this past week. They went to Indiana State and got rid of that long jinx they had there over in Terre Haute. And then on Wednesday they come home and played a shutdown half of defense against Southern Illinois.
You know, both those games were important. Like you say, the first one at Indiana State, they hadn't won over there in 9 years. It was kind of weighing on everybody on the team, and particularly weighing on Tony Wills. He's an Indianapolis native. He really wanted to win over there one time in his career, and I think everybody in the team wanted to win for him too. Came out and just had a great first half and let the lead slip a little in the second half, but it never really got under 10. They played a great game there. And then on Wednesday, they went to Southern Illinois, and they kind of had a little bit of a letdown, but they haven't had one in a while. The first half, it was kind of just the intensity wasn't there, especially defensively. They regrouped at halftime. They held them to 18.5% shooting in the second half, which I found out later was the worst second half shooting in SIU history. And ISU wins a 7-point game. Everything's not going to be pretty every game. Everything's not going to flow great every game. Those are the kind of games you need to win when you kind of grind it out. Lou Henson once told me, you're not as good as your best game. You're not as bad as your worst game. You're somewhere in the middle. And good teams win those games in the middle, the majority of them.
Absolutely. So a couple of key road wins, and then now you come back home for the showdown with the two teams undefeated in Valley play against Wichita State tomorrow.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit. My first year on the ISU beat was 2007. ISU was 6-0. They went to Drake 6-0. The only 6-0 matchup in the Valley history, in the Valley's 110-year history. This one's a 5-0 matchup, but it kind of has the same kind of feel. The only bad thing is that the ISU students won't be on campus till Tuesday. I'm sure some of them will filter back to campus, but it would have been really great if they were there. Especially against Wichita State.
Yeah, it should still be a pretty energetic crowd, I would think, with the way these teams have played over the past few years, too.
Yeah, exactly. And anybody out there, if you want to go to a basketball game this year, this is the one you want to be at.
And definitely. Well, I mean, and you kind of touched on it, too. I think with the Indiana State game, getting past that and finally winning there, that had to give them some relief coming out of the end of that game, do you think?
It did a little bit, kind of kept the momentum really going. And the thing about Wichita State is Wichita State's only lost to 2 Valley teams in the last 3 years. Illinois State is one of them. Illinois State has beaten them 2 of the last 3 times. Illinois hasn't I wouldn't say Illinois State has solved the equation of beating the Shockers, but when you play Wichita State, you got to play tough. And Illinois State has played tough. Even the game they lost last year was the regular season finale at Wichita. ISU did not play that bad that game. That was the last game at Koch Arena for Ron Baker and Fred VanVleet. Wichita State I don't care if Kentucky was there, Wichita State was not going to lose that game. So Illinois State, they have the confidence of knowing they can compete with Wichita State, which in the Valley, the only other team that has that confidence is Northern Iowa.
Mm-hmm. It seems pretty clear at this point already. I know it's still early in the conference season, but these are definitely the 2 best teams in the league.
By far, actually. Yeah. I don't want to put down the other teams. Missouri State has a good team, and we haven't still seen 3 of the other teams yet. But I think these 2 teams are by and away the best teams in the Valley.
So we're going to start something new with our Redbird show for the rest of this season as we go. We're going to ask you, the fans, to chime in with some questions via Twitter. You can either reach Jim on his Twitter account or me. And we've already got some actually from today. We're going to start out with a question from Michael. He wants to know, with 2 balanced teams who can score, is there a particular matchup you think could go a long way in deciding tomorrow's outcome?
Well, last year when they played here at Redbird Arena, the matchup that really went ISU's way, which was really a shock, no pun intended, was Paris Lee just outplayed Fred VanVleet in the second half of that game. Paris scored 13 of his 19 points in the second half against the All-American VanVleet, who's not there now. Mm-hmm. Paris is even better this year than he was last year. I think that's a matchup that really favors ISU. Wichita State's starting point guard is Deshaun Smith, junior college player, very good player, and Connor Frankamp, who's not your kind of classic point guard. I think if one matchup really favors ISU in this game, it's that one.
Definitely. This question comes from Brian. He wants us to know, well, defense has been a huge part of this 5-game win streak. So what part of the defense have you seen as the biggest help to the wins?
You know, I really think it's total defense. I don't think you can single out the perimeter guys or the interior guys. It's a combination of really together. I mean, if all 5 guys aren't playing defense in one, then it doesn't matter if the perimeter guys are playing better than the interior guys. It's going to fall apart. that kind of happened. It didn't fall apart, but Southern Illinois was 12 of 23 the first half, and that's because the perimeter guys were letting themselves get driven by, and the interior guys weren't sliding over. So it wasn't kind of helping each other, blah blah blah. But I think both units, the interior and the perimeter, have both just been outstanding. So it's hard really just to pick out one.
Yeah, they've really kind of been a whole unit.
Oh yes, no
doubt. This comes from David. He asks, it's been a different guy every game who steps up for ISU. Who is the key for tomorrow's game?
I guess the one we just kind of touched on a little bit was Paris. But if I had to pick out somebody else, I just expect Mikhail McIntosh to have a big game. And he kind of did that at Indiana State, 31 points, just had a great game. The game before that, he had 21 against Missouri State. A little down offensively the other day. But Mikhail seems like he's kind of gotten in his groove a little bit offensively. And his defense, I'm telling you what, his defense in the last 5 weeks has really improved. And in this game especially, defense is going to be just as important as offense. And Mikhail, sometimes, he gets man rebounds. And the man rebound is when you go up there with two hands and you just snatch it. And when you're... Yeah, he's a big guy, 6'7", 234. He's fun to watch rebound sometime. But I think offensively, his offense is really coming around. And he's never had a great game that I can remember against Wichita State offensively. I think one of these games he's really going to kind of have a 20-point-ish game against the Shockers, which is hard to do. They're a great defensive team, too.
No doubt. Before I get into the next question, kind of tailing off of that, he says it's a different player each game. Going back to the Southern game, the offense was kind of struggling a bit, and it was DJ Clayton who kind of rose to the challenge to lead the offense.
DJ did a great job. They really needed somebody to kind of pick them off offensively in that first half. DJ is not a great outside shooter. That's no secret. I mean, all you have to do is look at the stats. He's not a great outside shooter. He's not a great free throw shooter. But what he can do is Dan Muller said he's a great cutter. And he's 6'6", 185. I mean, he's a guy who walks off the airplane and looks like a basketball player, if you know what I mean. He is a great cutter, and when he does that curl in the lane, when he's 6'6", he can get that kind of little floater type shot or the finger roll or something like that. And he actually hit a really nice, I think it was a turnaround jumper about 14 feet. And I mean, that's kind of his game. If he kind of, and I think he's kind of figuring it out. Your junior college guy, it takes you a while to figure out where I fit in, and especially DJ told me the other day, there's veterans on this team, so he's kind of had to figure out his kind of place and all that. I think he's kind of figured it out, and boy, if they can get that type of production offensively from him off the bench with Keyshawn Evans, Keyshawn's actually playing great too. I mean, that will go a long way this season.
Great. And our last question comes from Corey. He says, with Ron and Fred gone, obviously Baker and Van Vliet there, who is the new target for ISU fans to dislike? Besides Greg Marshall, of course.
I like that question, Corey. Yeah, that's kind of a funny question. Wichita State does have a lot of new faces this year. I think the guy that ISU fans are going to point to in the next 4 years is going to be 6'4" guard Landry Shameet. He was a freshman last year. He actually started their first 3 games. Then he hurt his foot and was out for the rest of the season, so he's a medical redshirt. Dan Muller said what he really likes seeing on tape about Landry is that he plays with a competitiveness. And those are the types of guys that opposing fans usually kind of hate.
They get under your skin.
Exactly. Ron Baker really comes to mind. He had a competitiveness that was, just off the chart. So Landry is a great player. He's going to be the Valley Freshman of the Year. There's no question in my mind. He will be the Valley Freshman of the Year this year. And like I say, he probably would have been last year instead of Marcus McDuffie. But I think he's kind of the guy who's going to be kind of maybe the villain the next 4 years in this rivalry.
Great. Well, that's going to do it for another show. Like we said, we're going to recruit some questions from you guys who watch. Again, if you have an idea or question for next Friday's show, send it via Twitter to either Jim Benson, that's PG_Benson, or myself at PG_Deacon, and we'll pick the best ones and read them on the air. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and enjoy the game tomorrow.
And I want to give a shout-out, Joe, to my daughter, Lauren Strebel, who's watching in St. Louis. Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren. Bye-bye.